My mother-in-law called me Filth. I left and didn't look back. I married at 25 and was sure I knew what family meant. America taught me simple things. Smile at your neighbors, don't put the trash can out on the wrong day, hold the door and say thank you. But America didn't warn me that someone else's jealousy can move into your bedroom and turn any city, Seattle or Tampa, into a tight little cage. My name is Emilia. I've lived in the US since I was 20. I studied, worked, rented tiny apartments with flat carpets and loud refrigerators. I was that person who goes into Target for candles and walks out with a cart full of pots, bedding, and 2 more candles in vanilla bergamot. I had a plan, a job, a modest house in the suburbs, Sunday bakeries, and a warm man beside me. His name was Jason. We met at a coffee shop near my clinic. I'm an administrator at a private dental practice. He was in front of me ordering a latte with no foam, as if you could cut the sky out of the sky. When the barista slid him the mug, he turned and bumped mine. Coffee splashed on my white coat, and Jason exhaled. "I'm sorry, I'll cover the damage down to the last bubble." He smiled with his eyes. His voice was warm, like Saturday morning bread. He took my number, sent the dry cleaning prepaid, and that evening texted a photo. "Meet where the sky begins without foam?" And I said yes. At first everything was like a movie you rewatch on holidays. Jason opened doors, sent voice notes. "Good morning, I'm proud of you." Remembered how I like my coffee, and asked if my hands were cold. He took me to a park where dogs were always running and said, "I might not be the best runner, but I'm great at returning." I didn't yet understand that people who know how to return often know how to leave, over and over, by habit. We moved fast. He proposed a year later. The ring shone like a New York storefront before Christmas, and I shone brighter. We married simply at City Hall, no long speeches. Just my parents on video from another state, a few friends, and Jason's family. Everyone smiled then. His mother hugged me unexpectedly tight and said, "Welcome to the family, sweetie." Her name was Sandra. She was 45, with very expressive lashes, the kind that make people look kinder in photos than in life. The first 6 months we lived on our own, and it was easy. Our rental in a Dallas suburb, gray facade, white door, a maple that always dropped leaves right onto my car. I got up at 7, made us oatmeal, put on a slow morning playlist, and ate on the porch steps while the sun smoothed out its lap like a blanket. Sometimes Jason disappeared for an evening to his parents because he had to help Mom with the car, drop off Mom's meds, or simply Mom misses me. I didn't object. I knew how important dropping by is in American families, how important it is for any child, even a grown one, to remain someone's child. And then Sandra called Jason and said a phrase that flipped my life. "Come home, I need help." Help with what? We couldn't have imagined that by that word she meant, "Come back and I'll take your life in my hands like a grocery bag and set it wherever I like." We went back temporarily for a couple months, or so we thought. Sandra's house, 1-story brick, a backyard where the barbecue still smelled like last summer. Her younger son, Ricky, lived there too, a 22-year-old with a perpetual backward cap and plans to start a podcast. Sandra said, "Don't worry, I just need company. A little help around the house. Just a little." But from day one, I understood. A little here meant everything. The morning after our temporary move, I woke first to make breakfast. I love when a house wakes up to coffee. The kitchen sink was a mountain of dirty dishes, from yesterday, the day before, possibly last year. I sighed and washed it all, then made omelets, toast, fruit. Sandra walked in wearing a robe, phone in hand, scrolling TikTok. She didn't look sick or miserable. She looked busy, with other people's lives on a screen. She nodded at the table. "Oh, great. Ricky, get up. Jason, look what a catch your wife is." I smiled, though something tugged inside. That day, I went to work as tired as if I'd unloaded someone else's memories. I came back to another mountain in the sink and a pot of pasted-on pasta on the stove. The others were out running errands. I washed, I cooked, and then I sat on the porch, thinking that love isn't dishes. Love is the ability to share the dishes. Week after week, I lived the same cycle. Work, home, dishes, dinner for everyone, laundry, speeches about how we all need to stick together. Sandra slid in pinprick comments. "You cook well, Emilia, but you know Jason likes his mashed potatoes thicker. I made them better. Do you visit your sister a lot? You seem a little too close to your side of the family. In our family, men are the center. Don't stay late at work. The home misses you." I didn't realize right away that this was jealousy. Not sexual, parental. Jealousy that her son now had a life she couldn't enter without asking. Jealousy of my family, my habits, my thank you, and it's fine. One day, I was late coming home. We had a complicated patient, and I stayed 40 minutes. When I walked in, Sandra had already set the table. She smiled, but her eyes were cold like jelly from the fridge. "Finally," she said. "We thought you forgot where you live." "Sorry," I said. "We had an emergency." "So did we. We needed you." She looked at Jason. "Tell her that in our family, we eat dinner together." Jason looked away. He always looked away when he had to choose. I started going to my sister's more often. Same city, 20 minutes over a bridge and past gas stations. We drank tea and laughed at TV plots. I'd return home later than planned, but with the feeling that I still had myself. Sandra fumed. She told Jason, "Your wife runs to her kin. What about your home? You're my son, not hers." Sometimes he didn't come home at night. "I'll stay at Mom's, help around the house." In the morning, he carried back the scent of a different pillow. When I tried to talk, Sandra inserted herself. She came too close, edged me out with her presence, and said, "Emilia, you're too confident, too independent. Women like that spoil men. And Jason lacks order." Order. I thought order meant everyone has their own pillow, their own boundary zone, and their own choice. Sandra's order was simple. She comes first. The strangest parts began after her, "I need help." Suddenly a little became constant assignments. Go to Costco with me, haul all the boxes, move the furniture, wash the windows, drive to pick up Ricky from his shift, grab an Amazon package today specifically because I want to film a story. She didn't work. She spent hours on her phone, liking quotes about strong women and leaving kind comments for strangers. Online, she was soft. That even touched me. Offline, she was a razor. One day, I heard her whispering on the phone. I came into the kitchen for water and froze. Sandra was talking to a friend and laughing. She's just convenient. Does everything and doesn't argue. City girl, trained to be good. And she clings to my son. Let her lick. He still comes home to me. The words hit hard. I set down the glass and went outside. Jason found me 10 minutes later. What happened? Your mom calls me convenient. I stared at the grass. She likes that I clean up after everyone. She likes that I don't fight. Do you like that too? He was silent, then said, Why are you always creating conflict? Mom just says it like it is. She needs help. She's alone. Alone. Funny. There were 2 sons in her house, but alone is a convenient word, like a little. The next months turned into a show no one wanted to watch, but everyone acted in. Sandra started openly jealousing me to Jason. Her jealousy sounded like care. Emilia, you shouldn't walk around him in short shorts. That excites a man. Don't close the bedroom door. In our house, there's nothing to hide. Why do you put on makeup at night? Who are you trying to please? I stopped doing makeup at night, stopped wearing shorts at home, stopped closing the door. And one day, I realized I'd stopped breathing. The house that smelled like vanilla candles and fresh towels started smelling like someone else's rules. At Christmas, we got a tree and put out gifts. I labeled a box. For Sandra, for patience. It was an expensive, warm shawl. She unwrapped it and smiled with her lips. Thank you, she said. But you know, Emilia, patience is what you lack. If you were softer, we'd live peacefully. Softer. I remembered my dish-chafed knuckles, the box-carrying calluses, the silence I swallowed instead of screaming, and thought, if this isn't softness, what is? In January, I made a decision. We'd get our own place, any place. Even a studio without a window. I found options, ran the numbers. The talk with Jason was steady and firm. I love you, I said. But I can't live in a house where I'm devalued. We need our own space. You hate my mom, he replied. I won't go against her. She asked for help. You can see she's struggling. She's not struggling. She's bored. And she needs you nearby. But I'm your wife. If you love me, you'll love my mom. Love isn't an equation where a plus replaces a minus. I was quiet. He was quiet. And we kept living in one house, but already in different marriages. One day, coming home early, I heard Sandra say to someone, that girl's a revolving door. See how easily she leaves? She's always off somewhere. A prostitute in the soul stays a prostitute. The word cuts like torn metal. I walked into the living room. First, I said, my name is Emilia. I have a name. Second, were you holding a candle at the scenes you judge? I work, I pay part of the bills, I cook and clean for your family, and I'm your daughter-in-law, not a maid. Sandra jumped up. How dare you? In my house, you'll speak to me with respect. I raised my hands. I am speaking respectfully, just honestly, for the first time. My mother called right then. I answered on speaker. My hands were shaking. Mom heard part of it and said clearly, baby, you are not living there. Pack your things. To hell with them. You're going to your happy life. Her voice was an anchor. I hung up. Sandra yelled. Jason stayed silent. Ricky filmed something on his phone. I went to the bedroom, pulled out a suitcase, and packed as much as my back could carry. The rest would come later. Jason caught me on the porch. Please don't leave like this. Let's talk. Let's, I said. Let's rent a place. Let's live apart. Let's set boundaries. He looked up at the window where Sandra stood like a shadow behind the curtain. My mom won't forgive you if you leave, and I won't be able to forgive you unless you apologize to her. Call her. Say you were wrong. Say you love her. Otherwise, there won't be us. I chose myself. I rented a small apartment in the next neighborhood. The walls were thin as paper, but the quiet was mine. At first, I hid in that quiet. I cried in the shower, slept in a sweater and socks, stared at the ceiling, and counted the slats of the blinds. For 6 months, I recovered like someone after a long illness, slowly, carefully. I went to a therapist at the clinic across the park. She asked, what do you feel when you close the door? Freedom and guilt, like I stole it from someone. From whom? From a woman who wants to keep her adult son close. And what do you owe her? Nothing. But that nothing somehow weighs a ton. 3 months later, Jason called. We met at a cafe. He looked tired but well-groomed. Sandra made sure her son looked good. He said, I miss you. Let's try again. But you need to make peace with Mom. Is your mom ready to ask my forgiveness? For what? For wrecking our home. For calling me filth. For standing between us literally and figuratively. He was quiet for a long time, then said a line he'd probably rehearsed. Mom is an elderly person. Well, not elderly, but, you know. She has her ways. We must respect our elders. You must. Otherwise, there won't be us. I realized he wasn't choosing us. He was choosing the simplest route, through a house where his bed is made and his favorite casserole comes out of the oven, where he doesn't have to grow up. We divorced quietly, no battles. An email arrived with a document bearing our names. I printed it and put it in a folder marked important. Then I threw the folder out. That night, I bought myself a margarita pizza, a bottle of lemonade, and watched an old indie film about a woman who got out. The story could end here, but real life rarely fits into a single, and I was happy. Sandra didn't leave me alone. She messaged my sister. Tell your Emilia to return what we invested. What they invested, I still don't know. She wrote my friends on Facebook, left emojis under old photos like she was marking, Sandra was here. And one day she showed up at my work. I saw her through the clinic's glass door. Caramel coat, heels, an expression that said, I'll fix it if you tell me how. Got a minute? Her voice was syrupy. I'm working. But I stepped out. Emilia, she said, I never meant you harm. You just didn't understand our family. We do things differently. The man is the head, the woman is the neck. I'm not a neck. I smiled, tired. I'm a person. Come back to Jason. Without you, She trailed off. I'm willing to forgive you. The word forgive was like dust on a black surface. You notice it instantly. I don't need your forgiveness, Sandra. I need you out of my life. You'll regret this. She smiled, but her eyes were iron. He's the only son who understands me. You won't take anything from him. I went back to the desk. Only the air trembled. A year passed. I learned to live alone without feeling like a forgotten item on a warehouse shelf. I bought a used bike, rode Sundays along the river, watched people with dogs and girls photographing their lattes from above. I started reading books where the heroine isn't married and isn't planning to be, and realized each of us chooses our own geography of happiness. Mine was small, a bed with a white coverlet, a chair by the window, a kitchen where the dishes get washed right away. A new doctor joined our clinic, Hannah, young, sharp, honest. We became friends. One day she asked, "Do you always arrange other people's things this neatly?" "I'm an administrator, that's my job." "And yours?" "I'm learning." She gave me a mediator lawyer's number. "If Sandra crosses boundaries, document it." I wrote it down and thought I wouldn't need it. A month later I did. Sandra came to my home unannounced. A neighbor called. "Some woman is pounding on your door." I didn't open. That evening I wrote her briefly. "Any communication must be in writing. You do not have keys. Please do not come again." And added, "Otherwise I will file a harassment complaint." She went quiet. Sometimes silence is the best gift. You'll ask, "And Jason?" One day Jason texted, "I'm getting married." His fiancee's name is Kayla. She's younger than me. In the photo, Sandra has her arm around her shoulders. They look alike. Dark hair, neat lashes, lips made more for smiling than speaking. Jason wrote, "I was wrong. I hope we can be friends." I read it and didn't reply. Not because I'm cruel, because my heart isn't a returns counter. But life loves turns, like American roads, where you suddenly drive out from under one bridge to a lake. Half a year later, Kayla came to see me in secret. She sat in the cafe across from the clinic, ordered water, and said, "I know who you are. I can't cope. Sandra controls everything, even my nail color. Jason says, it's Mom. We must respect her. I don't know how to live like this. You left. How?" I listened and felt not gloating, but a searing compassion for my 2 years ago self. I told Kayla about the little apartment, about I chose myself, about crying in the shower, and the therapist who asked whom I owed my freedom. She nodded like she was taking notes on invisible paper. As we parted, I said, "Leaving doesn't mean hating. Leaving means you stop lying to yourself. If you choose yourself, it's the right choice, even if no one agrees. And if he says there won't be us, then there isn't." We paid and she left. I thought about how sometimes stories repeat, but sometimes someone makes a different choice and the loop breaks. Sandra popped up again on my sister's page. She wrote about how hard it is for women in our community, how ungrateful young ones forget their elders. Her post gathered likes from women with similar lashes and similar sons. I closed my phone and went for a run. Snow squeaked under my shoes. I thought how we all raise each other, sometimes to bruises. In spring, I moved to a better place. My new kitchen was bright, and the window looked out on a playground where kids built sandcastles and parents cradled thermoses. On the living room wall, I hung a huge map of the U.S. and marked the cities where I laughed for real. Austin, Chicago, Portland, Apple Pie in Denver, an Autumn Park in Richmond, a runaway smile in Santa Fe. The places connected with invisible threads. You could almost play them like strings. It all sounded like one melody. I came back to myself. One morning I woke with a strange calm. I realized I no longer waited for apologies. Not from Jason, not from Sandra, not from the world. I brewed coffee, opened my laptop, and wrote my first Reddit post in our relationships. My mother-in-law is jealous of me for her son. I left. It was the best mistake of my life. Hundreds of people replied. Some wrote, "Been through the same." Some, "Thank you for saying this out loud." And one woman wrote, "I'm reading this sitting in my car outside my Emile's house. I'm going to get a motel room now and find an apartment tomorrow." "Thank you," I cried, not from sadness, from the feeling that someone else's path can be born from my voice. Sometimes I think about Sandra, not as an enemy, as a woman afraid of aging, of ending up alone, of her son's love dissolving in someone else's hands. Fear makes people prickly, but someone else's fear is no reason to lay your own skin on its needles. Sometimes I think about Jason. He isn't a villain. He's a boy who never learned the language of no. He said yes to everyone and lost me. In another life, where he learned to say, "Mom, we're living on our own," we'd probably stroll flea markets on Sundays, arguing whether we need another porcelain auntie. But we live in this life, and in it I chose myself. Most often, I think about the girl who scrubbed dishes to a shine, trying to scour off other people's expectations. I wish I could go back and tell her, "Emilia, you don't have to earn the right to live. You earned it by being born." I can't go back, but I can go on. The last time I saw Sandra was in a grocery store parking lot. It was as hot as only July can be. She was walking to her car, arms full of bags, a loaf of bread peeking out. Our eyes met. She stopped, then came over. "You look fine," she said. It was the warmest thing she could say. "I am fine." I smiled, she nodded, shrugged, and left. I watched her go and realized sometimes the biggest victory isn't forcing the past to ask forgiveness. It's learning to walk past it without turning your head. That evening I called my mom. We talked about nothing, recipes, discounts, who planted what. At some point Mom said, "I always knew you were strong. I didn't know you'd be kind to yourself." I'm glad. I set the phone down and looked at my apartment, the vanilla candle on the sill, the old throw, the therapist's appointment card, the US map on the wall, myself in the mirror, tired and happy. I thought life isn't a choice between staying nice and becoming mean. Life is honesty. Sometimes honesty sounds like no. If you're reading this while sitting in a house where rules are set for you, where your love is measured in sinkfuls of dishes and a closed door, if you're told Mom comes first and otherwise there won't be you two, know this, you exist. You're not a sink or a door. You're a person. You can leave. It's scary. There'll be a lot of dishes in your soul, but then you'll buy yourself a vanilla candle, or a margarita pizza, or a bicycle. And one day you'll wake not because someone calls your name, but because you said it yourself. Out loud. For you. My name is Emilia. I married at 25, spent 3 years in a house where love was counted by dinner schedules, left when I was forced to choose mom or marriage, chose myself, and learned not to apologize for it. And if this is a rating story, let it have one rating, my own. I give myself 10-10 recommend, not leaving people, leaving for yourself.